All right, so we are recording. Welcome to another day of poetry. Miss Carrico's multitasking today, so she's out on the farm. Oh, while the rest of us are sitting at home doing nothing. So today we're going to talk about figurative language, which is something that we have talked about many times. So here's our poetry slam for the day. This one's sort of cool because it has two people. They're twin poets talking together.
Millions in Delaware, twin poets. I heard the dreams are illegal in the ghetto.
Black girl, you ain't gonna be no damn.
I heard that dreams are illegal in the
Boy, you
ghetto.
ain't gonna be no lord.
But I am dreaming.
Don't you know that dreams are illegal in the ghetto?
I heard the dreams are illegal, but I am dreaming. I had a dream. I had a dream that I was in America. I was in America. I was actually in the land of the beautiful and the home of the brave. My boss came into my office and said, "Hi, Bob. How's it going? Why don't you take off early?" And here's that raise. And as I pulled my Suburban up to my suburban home, I got the mail out the box, all the proof for another home equity loan. Right. The Girl Scouts are there ringing the bell with cookies to sell. Of course, I brought a box as Hillary quieted down Marmaduke began to bark. And then later on, my wife and the kids took a bike ride to the park. Keep up there. Well, when we got back, we had apple pie with ice cream on top. Then we buckled up and hit it on down to Blockbuster to get some videos to watch. Titanic again. When we returned, the kids put on their PJs and relaxed in the den for some family time, watching videos. Then all these strangers turned to me, "Nigga, what are you doing here? Don't you know that dreams are illegal in the ghetto? What are you doing here? Don't you know that dreams are illegal in the ghetto?" Those gunshots ringing in the heat of the night, followed by screams, violently disrupting my dreams. You see, in my neighborhood, I don't need to read the paper or watch the news to know that something bad happened around here tonight. But once the ambulance leave and the police sirens stop and the crowd disperses, that silence soaks into my soul, sobering my senses, and it's often over-intoxicating society. And I try to relax. But the devil just won't let go. He keeps pointing to the signs that are posted all around me to read dreams of an ego in the ghetto. You see, my neighborhood is the bottom of the barrel where drugs get mixed. Here there are no brothers and sisters, just confused brothers and sisters. Here people drown in the backwash of the latest political scandal. Here the devil's in sweet control as dreams are stolen. And you know there is no honor amongst thieves, so dreams are stolen with ease. A high school graduate, barely 17, gives up her college dreams for a pair of tight jeans and a chance to be the next inner city queen. Take what your mama gave you. In the inner city, checks and basketballs bounce with regularity. Life and death in the midst of no disparity. Ghetto youth live for nothing and ghetto youth die for nothing. Every day blue skies are gray. All they know is that they want to make dough. The devil has them chasing the colorless rainbow. And at the end there is no pot of gold, just a pot of steam, which he exchanges for their dreams. You see, bona fide slaves are made in the devil's dream trade. Without dreams, you are equivalent to being non-existent. You see, our children need to be told they can achieve and that God bless those who hold on to their dreams. We got to take down the signs so the kids won't know that the devil is trying to make dreams, not drugs, but he's trying to make illegal, but dreams are not illegal. Thank you.
All righty. So it's interesting how, clearly they have to be pretty well prepared in order to move in sync like that. There was one time where it looked like he forgot the line, but for the most part, and I like their sound effects. Alrighty. So figurative language. Remember, figurative language is language based on some sort of comparison that's not literally true. And a figure of speech then is a specific example where something is compared to something else that seems to be entirely different. So you want to do this, Miss Terrell? You and Miss Bernard will split this one.
All right. Figures of speech. A simile. Now, we've had simile probably since elementary school. It uses the word like, as, than, or resembles to compare things that seem to have different or little and nothing in common. His face was as red as a tomato. His face resembled a spotlight. And a metaphor is a comparison between unlike things without using like or as. Okay, Ms. Benarsdell?
Let's see. So the different kinds of metaphors. We have a direct metaphor, which is when you say something that is something else. So instead of saying his face was as red as a tomato, a direct metaphor would be his face is a tomato. So that is direct. An implied metaphor is where the comparison is suggested. So she barked her command. That's a good example. And then an extended metaphor continues through several lines of a work. So that's just not like a simple phrase or a simple sentence. It's a longer, thus the extended metaphor.
Yes. Oh, there was another slide. Miss Carrico, you want to do that one? Can you see it?
Yes. Sorry if the sheep are loud. So personification is where you give human qualities to a non-human thing or to an abstract idea. So personification. So after the rain, the flowers hung their head. So flowers can't literally hang their head. That's like a human. And then an oxymoron is apparently contradictory things appear together in succession. So two things you would normally think of as different being put together. So dark light, crazy wisdom, sweet sorrow, and same difference.
Yes. So here's a poem that we want to look at. It's called Simile because it is a simile. So by N. Scott Momaday. So notice it says, what did we say to each other that now we are as the deer? Notice as, so simile, who walk in single file, with heads high, with ears forward, with eyes watchful, with hooves always placed on firm, in whose limbs there is latent flight. So notice this, the speaker's talking to someone else. It says, what did we say to each other that now? So it implies in the past they weren't like this, but for some reason now they're like deer walking in single file. Notice not right next to each other, but in single file. Their heads are high, their ears forward, their eyes are watchful, right? Like they're on the lookout for their hooves are always placed on firm ground, in whose limbs there is latent flight. And I think here in a second it will describe what latent means. So this is an extended simile because it extends over multiple lines of the poem. It's the entire poem. And it takes the visual image of a deer walking and it creates an entire poem about it. So true, false check. The speaker is addressing a person with whom he or she has quarreled, which means fought. And that is obviously true. So these two people have had an argument or some sort of disagreement. The speaker is observing deer in their natural habitat. No, right? Because it's figurative language. So the deer aren't literally there. He's not actually seeing deer. He's imagining them and comparing them to his current situation with his person he has had a disagreement. Speaker uses personification to describe the deer. False. It's using an extended simile. And then the speaker and another person are compared to the deer. That is true. So notice, guys, we are as the deer. So it's comparing. So Miss, well, let's look at the example, right? This one, she barked the command. Miss Van Arsel brought this one up earlier. It's an implied metaphor because speaking is compared to the sound that a dog makes, right? It doesn't actually mention the dog in the figure of speech. It just sort of implies it. So meaning she spoke so loudly that her command sounded like the loud noise that a dog makes when it's demanding something. So we are as the deer. That's comparing friends that are quarreling to deer. They're both quiet, right? Deer are quiet animals, and now they're quiet because they're no longer talking to one another.
Which is a simile with the as.
Yes. And then, so the extended simile part, who walk in single file, right? They're walking one in front of the other rather than beside each other. All of these are going to be comparing friends that are quarreling to deer. With ears forward and eyes watchful, they're wary of each other and their surroundings. With hooves always placed on firm ground and whose limbs there's latent flight. Well, latent means lying dormant or hidden until circumstances are suitable for development or manifestation. In other words, ready. So notice they run away from each other at the first sign of trouble or their first interaction. So it's interesting because they used to be so close, but now that they've quarreled, they're like deer just ready to pounce at any moment to run away from each other. It sort of is just bringing up, you know, he has this friendship that unfortunately no longer is strong. And here are some other poetic devices. Alliteration, so repeating consonant sounds several words in a row, right? The wet wind wetted. So you got that sound. Idiom It's an expression peculiar to a particular language that means something different from the literal meaning. So, like, if I were to say it's raining cats and dogs, and I were to talk to a Spanish speaker who didn't know English, and I were to translate that, they would jump on the ground and like cover themselves because they're like, "What do you mean cats and dogs are coming out of the sky?" But it's an idiom. It's just an expression that we know it means it's raining a lot. Repetition, so alliteration, a refrain, etc. So alliteration and refrain both fall under repetition. A refrain is a repeated line in a poem, so you repeat a single line over and over. Onomatopoeia, that's use of words that sound like what they mean. So like snap, crackle, buzz, right? Like buzz makes the buzzing sound. Hiss. I really like drip. Like if you say the word drip, your mouth naturally makes a dripping noise. And metonymy and synecdoche, this is just where a part represents a whole. So, like, whenever we say, "Oh, there's Washington," and we're talking about the U.S. government, that would be metonymy. Synecdoche would be like all hands on deck. I don't literally want you to cut your hands off and throw them on the deck. I want you to get on the deck. So the hands are representing you. So that is our figurative language lesson. Those are all our devices. You have an exit slip today. It's 10 questions. So by midnight tonight, you need to finish your 3 exit slips for this week. And you need to submit the same song assignment that we started on Wednesday.
Continue with that.
Yeah. So anything else for the good of the group?
Think we're good.
Yeah. A lot of these poetic devices they've had over the years, because I know, as Miss Carrico can contest, that you've touched on them as a freshman, so, and you probably, I'm sure, middle school, so it's just a refresher for the most part.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is today's lesson. Thank you all very much.
Have a great day.
Yes.